is just one of the many daily posed journey of discovery discussions that journos have with each other. But in actual fact, they're all just reading the script. And you know that it's scripted because whenever they ask a question, none of them ever seem surprised by the question. They never go, oh, okay, well, let me think about that. The answer straight away. Just, there's virtually no break between the question and answer. And this one here is, well, look, this one's a biggie. PSYOP they've got going, it's worldwide, so let's just watch these three idiots first.
It has evolved over the last 3 decades, so you would kind of assume that things would have changed by then. I mean, these laws obviously probably don't look into social media, online stuff, if there's a connection with sexual harassment in the workplace through there. So we'll wait and see after this 12-month inquiry, which is very important. I agree with Jane.
There's a 12-month inquiry on sexual harassment. And we know it's done by the government because it's related to bringing in new laws. And the thing with these laws is they've already been written. This inquiry does 2 things. 1, it wastes taxpayers' money. And 2, it provides jobs, supposed jobs. See, these jobs are totally unproductive. They're just a cost burden. There's absolutely, like if the government built a coal-fired power station, then the money they spent on those jobs would produce cheaper electricity, or if they subsidise the car industry, which I mentioned in my last video, how the World Bank has shut that down, that would also create an output and help our trade deficit. But these jobs are entirely a cost burden with absolutely nothing at the end of it, except for supposedly coming up with these laws. But these laws have already been written, and the inquiry is going to be tailored, go down the pathways to ensure that, oh yeah, that we've come to the conclusion that these laws need to be brought in. So obviously, you know, for it to remain on that pathway to the conclusions have already going to come to, they can't have any dissenters. Everyone is already going to be on board with the agenda. And I guess this gives them 12 months of really highly paid. You can imagine how much they'd be paying all these researchers and, you know, coming up with these studies and these reports, which have already been predetermined. But that would, you know, that's sort of rewarding the people that are on board with them as well. So that's what these jobs, this inquiry and these jobs are also about.
It needs to happen, and hopefully, you know, these laws will be revisited, and I'm sure there'll be changes made to the current laws.
How does she know? Well, more so the scripts know that there's definitely going to be law changes because it's already been determined. Like I just said, this 12-month inquiry is just a load of crap.
I think the big concern is if you are the person being harassed, there is still that big fear of speaking out. And I think that any extra discussion is great. Jane, do you think so? Do you think there still is that fear of people not wanting to put their name out there and say this person's been doing this to me?
So this is a great example of how these discussions have been scripted, because that question is just so loaded and you already know what she's going to say, but we'll have a drum roll anyway.
I think that's something that women have always had to contend with, and the more we discuss it, the more open it becomes.
So will there ever be a point where the discussion reaches that it can't be opened anymore and we've just got a resolution and we can just stop talking about it? Because remember at the start, the other one said this.
It has evolved over the last 3 decades.
So well, it had 3 decades so far. What, more discussion, another 3 decades? Look, it's not ever designed to be resolved. It's just meant to be chewing up money. It's like the medical researchers. Oh, yep, in 5 years' time we should have another breakthrough. Sort of, it's that kind of ongoing permanency about the draining of the public purse.
And it lends support to women to stand up and say, hey, look, I'm not comfortable with this. And then we start that discussion and we do update the thinking around it, because there's no question that the thinking has evolved. Things that were unfortunately acceptable 30 years ago just aren't acceptable today. And until we can have that open discussion and feel like we're being supported doing that, nothing's going to change.
Now, the changes she's talking about, so these new laws, they actually, I've just remembered now, that was what I did a video on it, what Prue Gowan was talking about, going to workplaces and doing surveys. This is what this is about. So this is about workplace sexual harassment only. And the changes that she's talking about, the things that need to change, is that they want to diminish men's influence and power in the workplace. And that has synergy with the current, in the current programs that the government, recruitment programs that the government has had for quite a while now, in keeping men firstly out of the workplace, as evidenced by these examples. And this has just been in the news. This is the Australian Tax Office, their diversity and inclusion plan, where they've got quotas now for, they're saying LGBTQI, but also for women. See, in a debt-based economy, efficiencies don't matter. In fact, they want it to be less efficient because they want more debt. If we were a fair income economy based on production and being able to pay for ourselves, then everything would have to be efficient and all this stuff would take a back seat. But of course, they want the debt high. The money is endless until we reach a point of unrecoverable debt position. Then it becomes unendless. In other words, there is an end to it. But that's what they want to get us to. But anyway, just got off track here. And is the Australian Army shunning male recruits for women? So these are just two examples of government instituted bias against men. And it's the people that control the government, not the idiots that get voted in, that go down to Canberra, and all they do is that they just in the framework that they've got, they just sign. They don't really come up with policies. All these government departments and all of these foundations and expert opinions that they say they take all from, it's the control of those institutions, the ASPI. There's heaps of them, and all of the heads of the government departments, like that Finkel was head of some science. What was he, the chief scientist or something? And obviously his background as such, so he tried to destroy the power. That's what got Turnbull out. But that's just an example. That's the structure of the government. These idiots that we vote, that head down there and shout at each other in Parliament, they don't actually do much at all. They just sign it. That's all they're required to do, and look, they're very well rewarded for it. So this people that control the government are obviously it's the international bankers, because they've got an endless supply of money, and how they work is they're the ones that are trying to firstly keep as many men out of the workforce as possible, and then once they're in there, transfer the power away from them, so they're more subordinate and don't have much influence. And there's method to what men would call madness, but they call purely logical to achieve their aims.
So yes, I think talking about it is definitely going to help.
It's certainly pushed forward, obviously, with this Me Too movement as well. And I agree with Jane. It is about speaking about it. There are so many people who feel suppressed. They can't come forward. They're not confident enough to come forward. And they should be coming forward now and fast, not waiting 6 months, a year, 10 years down the track. They've got to speak up now.
Back to these three highly paid idiots. Look, they're actually skilled idiots. Like, look at the one on the right. She actually looks genuinely concerned as she's reading the script, as that was, her words. And the one in the middle, well, she works there full time. That Tracy Vale, I think she's a reporter. Oh, she was the one that was, I think, down where Jimmy Carcassonne. She was on the corner, and he drove past her early in the morning before, at one of the checkpoints, stop points, to make sure everything was on track before he then got to Flinders and did the scheduled donut scene. Yeah, Tracy Vale. Yes, she's part of this whole thing as well. So she's a good actress. Look at her. She looks so concerned about this issue. But what she mentioned there was that it's Me Too. And that started off in Hollywood where everything's scripted. And that shows that this whole thing is a worldwide globalist, funded by the big guys, Soros, Goldman Sachs, obviously the international banks and Juncker and all those people. They're all behind this and they want it worldwide. So, because globalism means no borders. And this is why they want to take influence from men. They want to make them subordinate, push them to the back, demonetize them so they can't have any kind of power or decision-making processes, because that's what happens. Ultimately, they love them all to be homeless, I guess. Then they couldn't have any influence or say, because they've got no money, and that's what you need. You need to be able to have means and money to be able to have a say, because it's all the borders have been set by men. The nations of borders, sure, women are fought in wars, but 99.9% have been men that have died in wars, and it's men that will defend those borders. So for globalism to achieve its goals, this is where they're dotting the I's and crossing all the T's, as well as bringing all these terror laws with machine guns to shoot everyone that protests when they crash the economy. They also don't want any resistance to their remedy, which is going to be a global economy. And the resistance would be coming from men. So, because men set up borders. No disrespect to women, but women have a different role as humans. That they're actually designed to, their role is to procreate with the most successful male. So, if they get overrun, well, they've still got a future there, whereas all the men will be killed.
Very well said, Trace. Moving on, girls.
Hey, get ready to move on, girls. See their faces. Look at the one on the right. Oh, she's really got her concerned look for this story, for this script that she's just read. That's the look she needed. Really upset, really concerned. Let's just see how quickly she moves on to the next story.
Now to the great bin bag debate.
Oh, that didn't take very long. She's already... Oh, yeah, straight away. Just instant. Yeah, there was no kind of, come down from the emotion that she had for, feeling bad about all those sexually harassed women. No kind of transition period. It's just, the script's changed. She's changed. All right, that's it.